Good morning, everyone. My name is Eight Wind is Timeless, and this is the Chocolate Mountain Show. Guten morning. I am the holder of the continuous ball game that was created by the Hero Twins and given to the Americas. I'm that galactic daddy-o sitting on my galactic patio from Minnesota to the universe. So what's happening? And the commercial tonight is Alaskan Amber, all the way from Alaska. So pop them if you got them, smoke them if you want them. And I just really do love my Stella Glass. I like the dark beer, not crazy about their Pilsner. And I did forget my notepad. I do have like 1 point to make. So give me a second, everyone. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Oh, this shit's backwards. Better. It's like riding a horse side saddle. Wasn't going to work. What's happening, Tiger Strong? Edward. Boo, what's happening? Thank you for joining me. Just some interesting points. Tampa Bay. So it's going to be Tampa Bay and New York Islanders, right? In the Stanley Cup. And one thing that was interesting that I noted was, so at the end of a hockey game, everybody the goalie leaves, so you have a 6-on-5 advantage. And what was funny is I was looking at the shots the whole game, and New York stayed on 17 shots for like almost 7-8 minutes, where they wasn't even getting shots, where Tampa Bay had 31 shots and they only won 1-0. So I don't know. It's hard to judge that kind of thing. It makes you like, this isn't even a good product. The product wasn't really good. Suns win tomorrow, so this would be game 3. I'll say that I would have to look at what is the point spread. What what is the point spread for the Suns and Clippers tomorrow? Ain't necessary evil. Saturday. The odds favor the Suns over the Clippers by 1 point. So they only giving up a point. So right now they're still playing in LA, game 4. I say Clippers steal this one. That's what I'm guessing, that the Clippers win 1 down there. Because what is it 2-3-2? Is it 2-2-2-1? I think it's back to the old system of 2-2-2-2. Yeah, 2-2-1-1, something like that. So if it was for me, I would definitely. So the Clippers is given a point. Yeah, I would take that point. I would think the Suns is going to pull it out tomorrow. Hey, Soap, what's happening? Necessary Evil, I think I would say what's happening too. Been loving the lives. Well, thank you, Soap. I try to bring a little something. I try to bring a little something. Especially on the sports tip, and really just how to be a man and carry yourself too, and then just how to pursue your spirituality. I think I'll throw all those kind of things in. It's just in how you can practically be spiritual. I think that's the biggest thing, is how to use what gift you have in a practical manner. And I think that's all we can ask for. Strong discernment. Hey, did you catch that female Olympic track star? Richard shouted at mom she lost before she won. Yeah, I think a couple people have said that, and that's that. That was a kind of sacrifice. It's easy to see that kind of thing. That's when they get sloppy. But sometimes, like even though an Olympics is a funny thing, I mean, it really is a funny thing for some people. Some people they have blow up. They push the person does all this, and then they just can't excel in their sport. They get shamed. So sometimes when you give up a death like that, it doesn't stop you from getting shamed. So we'll see. We'll see. A&T's track team 4x4, I think they made the Olympics. Bought my first crystal book the other day because of you. All right. Been getting deeper into spirituality. Yeah, and I trying to see what I did with the new one. One of the new ones I got must be over. And even in my point of bringing the newer book I got, it's still like it has a lot of the how to put together like patterns of crystals to help you manifest. There's another name for it. It slips me, but Cat Matt. Yeah, I know who Cat Matt is. Well, thank you, son, for coming to check me out. Where is that newer crystal book? It's over here somewhere. My son is with his mom, driving her crazy instead of me. But he'll tell you he's my best friend, which in some ways he is. Let me tell you how fathers and sons should work. So I'm getting on him for not doing his thing, not cleaning up, basically. And so he hits me with my logic, because one thing that he's copied from me is my logic of looking at a thing and then throwing it back like a logical answer. And I had to look at him and say, look, stop using my logic because I'm ahead of you. Stop using my logic. You ain't got no argument. Just do this shit. This shit is not cool. Do this shit. But he's looking at me and trying to throw my logic back. And my daughter's picking some of that up too. But I find that really funny. Hey, Lorenzo, thank you for joining me. I know the little crystal book is right here, and I'm about to send that one out. But where is the bigger one? I heard a bunch of books fall earlier. I don't see it. I do not see it. So it must not be here. Crystal grids, that's the word I was looking for. I did something with it. But the book had a lot of interesting crystal grid parts in it. And so it's a little boy that you can follow if you're into crystal grids. Just a little young boy this must be 3 or 4 years old by now, but he can show you how you channel the energy. And I can't think of his name, but it's a quite young boy. And he had thousands of dollars worth of crystals in front of him. And so, it's a way to try to see the potential, because that's it. It's not the full answer. And looking at the full answer of what the crystals can do, that is kind of the potential. That's it, the potential. It shows you all the potentials. Looking, can't really see where. I guess it ain't up here. Well, ain't up here, it ain't up here. That's all right. But it just gives you those potentials. Hey, for Tresso Solitude, thank you for joining me. King Kane, Clippers or Bucks? I know the Bucks look good tonight, but who believed that game? I mean, that game just wasn't believable. That's why I watched the hockey game. I mostly watched the hockey game. When this is how quick the Bucks lead changed. I went to the bathroom or something and watched a few minutes of the hockey game and went back, and it was 40-70 something. And when I had stopped, when I was watching the game, it was only about a 10-point lead. So I'm like, okay. You see what they did tonight. They turned it on. So the Bucks is a ratings nightmare. Atlanta would generate more interest from everybody. The Bucks, the casual fan ain't gonna care about the Bucks. I mean, it's just not going to generate that interest. After the NBA, I mean, this is one thing to kind of gauge is after the NBA lost last year, do you really think they want to be in two small markets? I mean, think of it like this. You a major investor, and what do you want to see? What do you want to see? Last year, the owners and everybody, the NBA in general, lost money. Some of the lowest ratings ever. And so now, you really think they want to put these low markets? You think they really want to put these low market teams in? I just can't see it. I can't see it. It just makes no business sense. People are betting. Yeah, I would too. The Hawks seem like the better. It's going to be the better show. Trade again. We've seen how they build up all these little dudes. Chris Paul has always been the lovable loser. All the top seeds is out except Phoenix, right? Phoenix is one of the topper seeds. I think they was number 2. Was the Bucks 3 or something like that? But Soap says, how old? Oh, okay. Yeah, they made them lose. I thought that same thing. Good to see a fellow retainer. Best decision I've made, man. Transmuting it to other aspects. Good. I have more retired players coaching to give an illusion of a player's league. Well, but look at what they did to Nash. I mean, they elevated him, and then they kind of trashed him a little bit because, again, preparation, which is a shaming ritual. Ain't a lot of preparation in the NBA. When Kyrie said they really didn't need coaching, like Kenny and them on the show said that coaching matters in the playoffs. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. I mean, just like any sport, you've got people looking at every move, every play you call out. Tendencies, that doesn't change. The tendencies. So it's not a lot that a coach is going to really know. As far as NBA players, it makes a greater difference in college than it does pro, but not pros. College basketball is based a lot on if you got that 1 or 2 star and the star coach. I think the Clippers versus Hawks. I think it's okay. King Quan, thank you for joining. I think it's been very upset every round. You know, the NBA doesn't allow CP. Yeah, exactly. He's the lovable loser. Him and Hardy. I have Hawks in 6 over the Bucks. People are now comfortable with Milwaukee after they win. Hawks, the 220 Miami Heat, who were the 5th seed, just like the Hawks, right? And keep in mind, the Hawks have won it. They didn't win. They wasn't. The Atlanta Hawks have never won it. The St. Louis Hawks won, but still they won it. And so Nate McMillan, the best adjuster in the game. I mean, is he? I mean, is he? You know, like the other day, not playing that other guard for the Suns made no sense. This guard and confidence wise, that's what didn't make sense to play Payne. It's like, why would you let his confidence go down so much? This guy is playing really high, and then didn't he get a DMP? Did not play, or whatever that initial is. Didn't play. DP didn't play. Made no sense. 2 cities that have celebrities at their games. Even it's the Clippers, but it's the past year they gained fan base. Well, I was surprised. Like Russell Wilson was there, but remember, Russell Wilson went to school in Madison. He went to North Carolina State first, but he finished up in Madison at University of Wisconsin. So that's why Russell Wilson was there. But I mean, what's to do there? It's all about trying to make the most money for your brand. Bucks got blown out 86-125 and still won the series. Feel like they might make a Bucks player fake an injury to help the Hawks. That wouldn't surprise me either. Been on the same grind, man. Reasons for answering. Awakening. Good. So I put it, okay. No, Cam Plain rolled his ankle. I remember you saying that yesterday. That's true, too. That is true, too. So, yeah, we said that. Yeah, you guys told me that yesterday. But I don't know, guys. I used to visit the ATL in the summer all the time and lived there for 2 years. 78 ATL can be lit. LA is Hollywood, but Atlanta has become Black Hollywood. Thank you, James. Thank you for joining me. What's happening? It's interesting because, again, you know, what's interesting about Arizona is the opposite of Minnesota. Because Arizona, you got to live in air conditioning all the time, just like people have to live in heat. I mean, it gets so hot down there where you have to be in air conditioning all the time. And it's the opposite of here, where in the winter times we got to be heated. Cars is heated, the cribs is heated, the mall is heated, everywhere you go is heated. They have the opposite. Now, do people really want to be in Arizona in the next couple of weeks? I just don't see it. I don't, business wise. And the NBA, you know, they will take the losses. However, you got to consider last season, the bubble, the ratings drop. So they're looking to make the most money. They're looking to make the most money out of it. I wanted to bring this up about the 3-on-3, and it was interesting. The dude I showed, the brother that I showed, hit a jumper in the corner. I should have showed one of his moves. A couple of things that I like. Now, 3-on-3 was started in this dude, his name, I forget his last name, but his real name is Gus. And it was basically he paved his backyard and put a regulation size half court, and he had dudes and like everybody from around the state was going. And the tournament got so big, he moved from his backyard to his front yard, and then he started putting hoops in the streets. And it was so successful, he took it all around the country in the late 90s, early 2000s. I played 2 or 3 tournaments here. Well, matter of fact, I played one here in St. Paul. I played one in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And so this is what we did. I mean, Battle Creek, I dominated that shit. I played in the top court with the college people when I was in my 30s and dominated every year. First, second, I think the lowest I ever got was third. So Kalamazoo, Lansing, Traverse City was one of the prettiest ones. Traverse City is on Lake Michigan. And you kind of, where the hoops is, you overlook Lake Michigan. Really pretty. I guess somewhat Venice Beach kind of like, but really pretty part of Michigan. So that was the one we never missed too. But the biggest one was always back in Beldy. But I bring this up because this is what Ice Cube copied and put it in pro arenas. Macker had done some of that same thing, was using indoor arenas as well. I like this universal concept if anybody watched it today. They had the 3-on-3 open Olympic tryouts today. The teams that's going to go. And one thing I loved, if none of you guys picked this up, is when they made baskets, the play doesn't stop. I like that idea. It's like you make a basket, you take it out. And as I said in my video, we would play half court when I was younger. And in Michigan, we would always take it to the top of the key, and then you could play it. Or free throw line. Free throw line, you could play it back. But as I was playing, and we would go to some of the lakes communities that the family had picnics, we'd run across people from Chicago, or my cousin would come down. They played, you could take it to the corners. This game kind of reminded me of that. Because you can't just get your rebound and go back up. You still have to kind of take it around. So if anybody caught that. But the dude that shot that jumper in the corner that was helped, he put a move on. I should have did a video because he hit a dude with some nice stuff. And this wasn't no young dude. He was like pop, 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 pop. The dude went over there and he came back and fell to Jay, but they got beaten. I don't know if that knocked them out or not. Hey, D Stella, thank you for joining me. Results come with patience. Mastering your body is a marathon. It is a marathon. It is. But yeah, D, still thank you. Oh, you going to Arizona? And that's the time to go when it starts cooling down. I say to say this: the more money would be invested in Atlanta and LA. Yeah. It would give those two cities the shot in the arm that they need and the programs. But it would give America a better thing than people having to go to Milwaukee and people having to go to Arizona. It just doesn't add up. Now, we could be wrong. They could be pushing that the foreign player thing, which they like with Giannis, but I don't think so. I still, I know I was wrong saying the Sixers and the Lakers made the most sense, but now you just got to be fluid with it, and that's what to me makes the most sense of watching this thing, is that those two teams make the most money sense. That's the most marketable. It would pull in the casual fan. So we'll see. We will see if that's how they're going to do it or not. Hey, Laquan, thank you. Peace to you. Thank you very much. Last year, Florida versus Los Angeles. This year, Atlanta versus, King Kane could be. ATO was all stuck at 40 something points. That was just basket manipulation. Trae Young made turnovers on purpose. I saw him commit one in the first or second quarter that just didn't even make any sense. It's like, who did he just like Embiid did a very similar turnover where he just went to gather the ball and the ball just comes away. And he didn't sprint back or anything. And I'm like, come on. So I kind of you saw earlier how they was gonna go. Hey Valerie, thank you for joining me. Barbara, what's happening? Thank you. And Barbara, yeah, you got to give me double check with me about your zip code, because they're saying that the zip code is wrong. Hey James, thank you for joining me. Charles Barkley picking the bus is a curse. That's a good point. I'm thinking the Bucks and Suns will take it for CP3. Could be, but I just, again, CP3, his reward is losing. He gets his TV commercials for losing. Yeah, just send me to make sure, because I've got to tape more on it, because I thought I had the right one. And, I got dyslexia, so the stuff gets scrambled. But I thought I had the right one, so double check with me on that, because they said it wasn't right again. They still not letting see. I don't think so either, King Juan. I don't think so either. I don't think they're going to. I don't see so either. NBA and everybody wants to make a lot of money. Like, one example was the game with Tampa Bay. It was packed. Nobody wearing masks. Tampa Bay was packed. Nobody wearing masks, screaming, yelling. And Tampa Bay won it last year. They're going back this year. So they got Florida and New York. And they've got Florida, Tampa, Florida, which is a very beautiful place. I don't know if anybody's ever flown into Tampa. It's one of the prettiest places, kind of tied with Chicago and San Francisco. Just a pretty place to kind of fly into. Tampa's real pretty. So Tampa and then New York, because you saw the little bit they gave New York City with the basketball playoffs. That was a build up for this hockey stuff. So that's what I see moving. That's what I see moving forward. And I think Tampa Bay is a little stronger. Again, they eliminated the team to 17 shots tonight. So I think they're a little stronger team. And no hockey tomorrow. About the fact that it could be Clippers and Hawks. LA played in Southern team last year finals. This could be another LA versus Southern team. That's a good point, Lorenzo. That's a good breakdown. That's a real good breakdown. And I'll say this while I think about it, like Zach did the great breakdown on the Shabbos thing, because I don't know, like what they did here, they put the shit on the radio. And I picked up, I couldn't even tell you how much food. The reservation was giving out food. Damn, they gave me like 5 crates of freaking super fresh pineapple and other things. And so, of course, I was giving it all out. And then they gave me a ton of pork. And, of course, I don't really eat that. But my point is, while I was sitting in line to get my truck loaded up, they was doing the Floyd people talk. So did anybody hear the little girl? Now, it sounds like she was a little coach, but damn, that's like they had the little girl on videotape and they're coaching her a little bit, but it was like one thing that she said, she was, and however you feel about, this whole thing, fake or real, they making it seem like he dead to her. I guess we're going to go from that mindset. And she was like, I couldn't understand why somebody helped hurt my dad. She's like, I still want to play with my dad. And then the brother spoke. Now, this is what I found most interesting of it all. The brother spoke, and the brother said, well, yeah, I've taken this message all around the world. And he started naming places. Now, them people got a lot of money. They got a lot of money. Even before they got paid from the city. They got a lot of money before. And so, okay, you going around the world talking about Floyd? And how upset he is, and then the people's paid. So it was interesting hearing the speaking, and but look at Zach Hubbard. He did an excellent breakdown how they've been throwing that 225 in all year, and his book So I was like, you was on spot. You spot on. Anybody who listens to Zach, he was spot on about that. I don't think who's better team to win. Clippers. I don't. D still says I don't know who else a better team to win. I don't know. Clippers never win, and it's kind of hard when they ain't won it, and they don't have that history as I mentioned Toronto had. Just don't know if they're gonna let them. I'll say this though, they let the billionaire win in Dallas. So could that be the agenda for the Clippers? They're gonna let the billionaire, because what is he on the team? 5 years? I think he's on that team less than 10 years. So that's the only that I could see letting him win it. But on the other hand, I don't know. And then their disappointment last year. That would be the most sense for them to win this year. Is like they got embarrassed last year to win this year. That is a possibility. I could see that. I'm from Chicago. Yes, city very pretty. It's just shadowed by killing. King Juan, again, I talked about that last night, and I've talked about it most nights. The problem that we have is and just like if you watch Al Prophet and you watch Boone and all them, government agents. And then I did a thing showing that the government guns are, come on, who can steal that stuff? Again, I used to have a contract on a military base. We kept our guns in the same rack where they kept theirs. And it was the same thing with both squads. It was the police and it was us, how we got our guns. Same thing every night. So to say these crates of guns is missing, it was a Stinger missile missing. How does a Stinger missile come up missing? So Chicago we know Chicago had a black site where they was kidnapping people off the street. But anytime you see this is what you have to understand going back to Floyd. This is really was the thing going back to Floyd. The momentum of the rioters came from 15 to 22, 24-year-olds. That's where the momentum came from. That is who pushed against this system. And that's when they threw in, you started seeing, but organically, it wasn't Black Lives Matter organically. That came a couple of days later. They wasn't organic with it because it took them time to figure out what's going on. These 15-year-olds, when they rocked that third precinct, they knew they was in trouble and outgunned and outmatched. And they booked up out of there. But I say this, that same element, knowing our government, they've armed that element. They said, this is the ones we should be afraid of. And I've talked about this before. It's playing tags with guns. That's what it comes down to, playing tag with guns. So, ATL 26-point comeback. Was Steven Jackson there? Where? I'm sorry, I missed that. Did Floyd have a Freemason tattoo? Absolutely, Soap. Absolutely. If you looked at that, I guess it was a porno. He had the big Freemason tattoo across his chest. So, the saying the Clippers did the humiliation ritual, so going to reward them. That's a possibility. Floyd was a Freemason. He had the Freemason tattoo, so I'm pretty sure he was one. Also, when you notice the cyber attack agenda, ATM been popping up almost recently, and MSN wouldn't surprise me in the next two if there's a global cyber internet goes down. In a way, that wouldn't be a bad thing, other than how the grids and stuff function. But people-wise, they would make a ton of money putting landlines back together. Matter of fact, I think because my cable is landline, it wouldn't be hard for me. I think, this thing behind me probably work and get an old phone. I mean, that's some way. It would. This is what would be interesting. If these phones and everything died, children would go crazy. Young people would go crazy. Young people couldn't handle it. They are so attached to these things that they couldn't handle it. So, but that's going back to the violence. That's where the violence comes from. It comes from them. They figured that out. They figured out where the real threat was, who's the men, and so they found out that it was easy to put them back into the old habits and the old tactics. Divide and conquer. Support one side, support both sides. That's what Snowfall tried to show you, that they support both sides like it's a beef. And this being allowed. And then, the same thing is you got black mayors, you got black police chiefs, and look at the city. And that's what we facing here. First, we had a gay police chief, right before the Floyd thing ended, we had a gay police chief. Or it was something else that came that they got her out. And then the black police chief and all this violence. It ain't hard. If they really wanted to stop the violence, it ain't hard. You take their asses out them cars, make their asses walk around. And it's not hard. Like, that's one thing I'll say that Brian Logan, even though I don't agree with a lot of him, that could stop it. Because if you look at downtown, which is one of our biggest money makers, they put horses down there. They got, when the summer's nice and the peak of people, when it would be 15, 16,000 people downtown, they had people on horses. They had people on bikes. They had people on little stand-up mall man, little things. They're everywhere. And granted, it's not big as the north side, but I'm saying if they want to show force, they can show force. So Julio went to Tennessee, used to be the Houston Oilers. Last time ATL went to a championship game was in Houston. That's a good point. I think that's when Zach also called. He thought Houston was going to win it all then. I saw a adorable and funny video on Instagram today. It was some preschooler sitting at a table with numbers on there. Everything the little boy got one right. His classmate cheered for him. Oh, that is sweet. That is sweet. Did you see the NFL player that said he was gay? He is the Pelicans' first one. Pelicans. I thought he played with the Raiders. Didn't he play with the Raiders? You see the player, he said that he was gay. Is he the Pelicans' first one? Oh, is he the Raiders' first one? Well, that one guy got that, even though that other guy that came out, he was undersized for a rush end. And I don't know if his skills would have helped him be a middle linebacker. He's more middle linebacker size, but his college stats showed that somewhere he should have got the opportunity because actually he was a pretty decent player. Yeah, the Raiders. Yeah, but it was a quarterback, and this goes back far. It was a quarterback named John Brody. All the TV shows used to joke about a gay quarterback in the NFL, and John Brody played for San Francisco. So this cat, if John Brody's still alive, he got to be in his 80s. But that was the thing, as they called that he was from. Yeah, Carl Nisbet. Yeah. Stat-wise, I just don't know size-wise if he really could compete. Michael Sam. Yeah, that was his name, Michael Sam. Yeah, Michael Sam. So size-wise, I just don't know if he could compete. But you notice this dude didn't come right out. I mean, if you real and you standing on yours, you come right out. He didn't come right out. He waited some years. He waited some of them checks. You know how they do it. You get some of them checks, and then you say, hey, look at me. But that's why I say I go back to North Dallas 40, the book. He talks about that, them being some gay players. That's why the book is better than the movie. You can never get an old copy of North Dallas 40. It'll kind of, and granted, it's years ago, but still it gives you an idea of how the NFL kind of runs. Dexter Manley, was he? I never heard of that about Dexter. I know Dexter, I don't think Dexter could read and write, if I remember that right about him. And then he ended up getting strung out up there in D.C. He was married to Hugh Hefner's old girlfriend. Oh, okay, Lammy. Thank you, Lammy, for joining. Okay. So they wait for some of them checks, and like my son's gay, and it's like he passes me, like we spend time together, and it's funny. He gives me little hints on his evolving gayness, But he had a girlfriend before he's dating this person he's dating now. So, but it's not who he's with is not bad for him. I'll say that. And they help each other out. They have a lot in common. But it's funny that my son wants me to prepare me for who he is. And I really like to get him sit down. I mean, this cat is just a lot of spiritual, just spits the stuff out. He's really benefited from my family line. He's definitely benefited being around me. So if I can ever get him to sit down, that's cool that he's open with it. Salute to your son. Yeah, it's open. I don't feel one way or another. I had a cousin just recently. They claim he died of AIDS and never got treated. And so, I mean, that didn't ever change about me and him. I mean, that doesn't change. My sister's married to a lawyer. My sister's married to another woman that's a lawyer. And I mean, they live in North Hollywood. They own a house in North Hollywood. They both been lawyers for 20 years plus. So, you know, love her. They adopted a child. Okay. Got nothing bad. It's, you know, it's their lives. It's their lives. And I'll say this is like, as much as at one time I wanted my sons to play ball and follow my path in some ways, I'm glad it worked out like it's worked out. Because just the price and the up and down. You know, my son went to school with Shoddy. Everything was on Shoddy. Now here Shoddy is he's been out the league and he's only 24, 25 at the oldest. He's been out the league for 4 years. So he played 18, 19, like 20. He played like maybe 3 years. Number one pick. Now he's got to play overseas somewhere. So they can make you rise and they can also dump you just as quick. They can dump you just as quick. So respect, love your children regardless. I'm trying to get my friend to understand this. And this is what's funny, family history wise. It was like some gay dudes in my family that would get married, have children, but always have dudes around them, and people didn't get it. One of my aunts married a gay guy, and you know, like it's like everybody was telling her, and they wouldn't tell her. They would hint, and she still married the guy, and then she caught him, and so they got the wedding annulled. But this was years ago. But so it's always been around. So, you know, I don't try to bash people. Because people can throw that in my face. And I'm not ashamed of my son. You know, I live his best life. Like, this is funny. Like, I'll be 60 next week. And let me start with this. So when I lived in North Carolina, I went about 2 years not seeing my mother. When my mother lived in DC and I was in Greensboro, I would go up there quite often, drive up there, spend the weekend, spend the holidays. But then my mother moved to Minnesota. When my mother moved to Minnesota, it was a good 2 years. Now, we talked all the time, but it was probably 2.5 years we didn't see each other, as far as physically seeing each other, because she lived in Minnesota. I was still living in North Carolina. And then as soon as I moved to Michigan, I started going there. But I bring this point up is she's being really hard on my son, because my son was originally had plans, because we kind of put together Father's Day really late. And my son, and it plus it's supposed to rain, but my son had plans to go with his girlfriend to, you know, they got invited to her home because we didn't say nothing. His mother gets mad. I don't get mad. And then, like, on my birthday, this dude's got to do 14 hours. And so working like that, I understand. And so whenever he sees me, he sees me. I don't stress on that. It's not that big a thing to me. This is how I always judge my age. When a year changed, my age changed. That's kind of how I look at it. I'm not going to cut myself in 6 months and say, well, for 6. No. When this thing changes, they put the year you died too. So what does it matter? Your exact months. They going to just put whatever year it is. Now, I know for gematria and shit, you can count down, count forward to see. But I'm saying basically, so I'm not tripping. And my mom's all upset, and she's like, well, he should. When your children are adults and your children act responsible, that's all you can really ask for. The time you spend, because you have to look back at yourself and say, what did I do with my parents and seeing my parents? Now, I was kind of lucky in some ways. My father lived down the street from me. When I first moved to Michigan, I bought my first house in Michigan. My father lived around the corner. So we saw each other all the time. Of course, having children and stuff, you know, seeing them all the time. But it's like not a thing to feel guilty about. It's like some people, this is their birthday, they get a birthday weekend too. Now, this is June. I get a whole birthday month. But it's, you know, at this age, it's not that big a deal. It's not something that is just like, I'm turning 60, so, you know, you guys all turn up with me. I don't really feel like that. Like one time, a couple years ago, they asked me, like, do you want to come and go out? I said, really, all I want to do, I was watching a game. I was drinking and smoking. I was like, that's all I really want to do. I really just want to sit home and drink and smoke and watch the game. So, um, so I know some people look at birthdays and stuff different. They think it's their time, but it's same. It's no difference. So you can capture that 24 hours because most of the 24 hours that is designated to be your birthday, you are asleep, at least 8 of them. And if you got to go to work the next day, if you didn't take off, you're going to be short that day too. So really, you have a window of about 6 hours. It's me. 6 hours. It's me. Love me. That's kind of what it is. That's nice that people like my children all contact me on Father's Day. That was nice. I don't ask for more than that because you really get back the love you put out. You put out love, that love come back to you. So you accepted the fear of death, ain't win, had one to accept him anyways. You accepted the fear or death, ain't win, had one to accept him anyways. Hard one. That's not hard for me. I mean, death is like, bring it. I'm preparing myself so much because if you read one of the things of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it's one of the few books that help you practice for it. Wes Paneri, when he talks about the mental place, that's one of the best information he puts out because there's a way you can practice for what's coming because it's I've said before, it's taking memory into death. And that from taking that memory into death, you're I know the one guy that kind of went crazy on YouTube, he called it you're able to take your crystal and blast your crystal off. Because that's to them, that's the biggest thing they can fear you with. That's why even at this age, I don't even know if they told me I had some shit eating me up from the inside. Damn if I would put poisons in me to stay 10 years or 20 years. I watched my uncle do it, fight that shit, getting operations and letting them and being sick. Is it worth it? Who are you doing that for? Who are you really doing that for? If you don't fear it, you just say, okay. And my mother's like, well, you quit fighting and you need to fight for them, and that'll keep you here. If you're about to die and you say you want more time, they're going to give you more time. They're going to replay your ass. Eat your energy, make you do it again. Make you go through it all again. That's the trick. That's what the light can do. So, yeah. I don't take any fear. Fear ain't real. Danger's real, but not fear. Fear is made up. How can I put this without getting in trouble? So, now they want everybody to take the dive. And the dive comes in packaging. Did you hear about one of the companies that they got to put on their packaging? One of the companies that is involved in the dive got to put some shit, a warning on their packaging. Did anybody catch that today? And you ain't got to put it in the things. But they said that they put in that heart warning. So maybe they won't strike me down for saying that, but you guys can look that up. Yeah, so something else to consider for you young people. I'm still celebrating my birthday all month, June, enjoying family and friends by phone, cards, and socializing. Yeah, to me, I call it the June boy. I take the whole month. I don't just take the day. I said my birthday starts on the 1st and ends on the 5th of July. I take all that. Because today, my sister, like I said, the 22nd is my grandfather's and my brother's birthday. My grandfather's passed. So my brother, I think, turned 44. So my sister must turn 46 because they're all 2 years apart. So today was my sister's birthday. She turned 46. Fears learn behavior just like hate. Exactly. They are doing a draw for the prize at my work for whoever got it. Well, Harvey's been a good guy this year. Let me see. Couple points to bring up. Let me see. I think I put this in there. Oh no, let me bring this up first. I don't know if anybody caught this. And if it's right here, so I can rattle this off. I won't read it everything, but here we go. Um, Mathematicians prove 2D version of quantum gravity and how it would really work. And this is one of the pictures they put of a type of stream that would come off the 2D kind of quantum. And so this is in quantummagazine.org. See if I can get this. And it says mathematicians prove 2D version of quantum gravity really works. And again, I don't want to be too boring, but check this shit out. This is the language. And like Sly was saying, if a motherfucker couldn't talk this kind of languages, you listening to him, and if you don't understand that kind of calculus. But basically, what it's saying, let me see. Okay, in classical physics, for example, a single field tells you everything about how the force pushes objects around. Take the magnetic field. The twitches of a compass needle reveal the influence. Fields are central to quantum physics too. The situation here is more complicated due to its deep randomness of quantum theory. From the quantum perspective, Earth doesn't generate one magnetic field, but an infinite amount of them. Some almost look like the field we observe in classical physics, but others are widely different. I just want to get some points out of this. Okay. And then this is called the Lowell's gravity field. But even in the gravity field, it's still my same point. There's no real up and there's no real down to the gravity in 2D. It's under and on top. And that's different than down. And this is kind of boring, so I'm not going to sit here and read it because I don't want to bore people. But it's just something to consider. It's just something to consider those that are looking at flat plane. This gives you a flat plane physics. So I kind of wanted to pass that on. Forgot to pass that on. They're doing it. And there was one more I found. I put it over here, though. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see if I can blow this picture up. It says, could this be a link between interstellar visitors, Omana, and unidentified aerial phenomena? Now, this gets into the Anunnaki stuff, and this gets into Wes Pinery's, his idea of the Anunnaki. And this is kind of what he says that Marduk flies in. They fly in these kind of vehicles. And so when they would go to a planet, the planet would think it's asteroids, but in fact, they would hollow stuff like this out and put technology. Or as you see Superman, remember when Superman had the crystals and he was able to go back into the old plane or the old ship and ignite it? Well, it's kind of like they put the mine inside the ships and they move like this. So that idea of the Captain Kirk ship, the Star Trek ship, the tin can, but they're moving more like this. So I wanted to consider that too. I wanted that to be considered. And the other one is like, a lot of people like to get into this, but who built Tutankhamun, one of the ancient cities, the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Sun again? And I pretty much solved that because it's obvious that the Omen built this. They found the jade mask at its core, so we know the Omen built this. So, and some of the same technology used. So, just some things to consider. So those flat plane people, because people create gods and worship them, so people can create a flat plane for themselves. They don't understand the illusion part though, too, because everything would have to be illusion building it up. And again, no up, but on top would mostly be illusion. So I don't think people understand that that's a part of it. So just some things to share that I wanted to share with people on my idea of some of this. So Westerners is a good read. Most of the stuff is free. So if that any of that interests you, it ain't the whole story, but it's a story, and it's a story to say, this is a possibility, and that's what it all is. Like I say, that what's in the crystals is possibilities. Like I'll hold this crystal long enough, it starts getting warm, and from this warmth, it actually gives my hand a lot of comfort because my hand likes the heat it generates. I've had a little bit of problem of circulation, so I'm always trying to keep my thumb working and all this. So it's like I'm not a hyper person. It's just when you get old and you have these problems that you've got to find a way to best work it. And I walk every day. But you know what Dr. Valentine said? Dr. Valentine said melanated people didn't need to exercise. He was saying there's something in the melanin that automatically a lot of this stuff is not going to affect you. But, as I said about my teammates, and I talked about this last night, like how do these men go from being top athletes to having diabetes within 10, 20 years? How does that happen? And I know me, I hooped until I was 50. I reffed and hooped. So I was active. And I can't say all them was. I don't know. I love chocolate. I'm not really a other type of candy guy, but I like chocolate, and that's still sugary. I love muffins. Muffins is full of sugar. I don't have high blood pressure at 60. Mostly joint pains and injuries. And I'm not anti-vax. I take concentrics. Said that before. I took the shingles thing because there was a good chance that I could get that crap. And that nerve stuff in the shingles is nothing to play with. Nothing to play with. But it's funny, shingles makes me itch here. That's the one thing I can say that, what do they say, side effects? I get this itching here. That's about it. Concentrics, I can't say nothing. Do you think certain pro sports are unscripted, or do you believe everyone is? If it's a betting line, they're all scripted. That's the rule of thumb. If it's a betting line, the games are scripted. If you listen to most gangsters, Donnie Hay even kind of alludes to that in his book, Personal Foul. But if you listen to the gangsters, that's what the gangsters tell you. The gangsters tell you if it's a line on the game is. And like I showed you on that 3-on-3, they had the old system because this is for the Olympics. And so, again, there's favorites. There's favorites. And so you see the old system at work, the boom, 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 boom. It's the cheaper system, but it's still a system that's effective of bringing balls in the hoop. So they're bet on. Now, as I mentioned before, I don't think the Suns were supposed to win that game. I think that was one time that the script changed. But as far as betting, it didn't affect it. The same money that even if the other team, and I'm having a brain fire, even if the Clippers would have won, the betting money really wouldn't change because they didn't cover. So yeah, LG, they're all scripted. Now, are there times? Yeah, there's times, but very few. Like, can a player miss a ball? Really miss a ball? Can the player 1 to 2 times make turnovers? Like Embiid, both last games, he had 8 turnovers. And like somebody had commented about that, it just looked like one time Embiid didn't do nothing but gather himself, and then the ball went flying. Young had a very similar turnover tonight. So some of that stuff you just have to question. It's like, how much sloppy play? Here's a dude that can just take a dribble and pound the ball. How all of a sudden you gathering yourself on the free throw line, you losing the ball. So it's very suspect. When you see that, it's very suspect. And don't think these Olympics ain't big business. Olympics is big business. Big business. So I mean, well, what you have to know is, like, when you hoop, you get a certain good. Like even me playing semi-pro ball, I had a certain good. So the better players you play against, the better you play. And that's almost any age. Like I played with some cats where if we played against some good people, we would play better too. It's like we could up our games. Like we had some people we could coast with, we could coast. But if we played against dudes, we would go into our bags and play that much better. So you take an NBA player, like just look at Michael Beasley, how he would go over to China and torch them people. He'd had him 50, 60 points. What's his name? Jammer. Jammer was killing them over there. They love Jammer over there. He's made a career almost. I would say in some ways, Jammer is more successful than Marbury was. As far as scoring, Jammer been killing them. You watch any of the TNT, Jammer had a 60-point game in TNT stuff. So, do you think going to win the fight between Errol Spence and Pacquiao? Why? That's what I would say. It's like, why is Pacquiao fighting? That last Spence, there's no way. That last Spence and Pacquiao's fighting way up. He ain't naturally a big dude. So if that clones Spence that fought last time, I don't know how Pacquiao can stand it. I don't think his movement, his punching power can back Spence up. If Spence puts that type of pressure, Spence should corner him pretty easily, and pepper him a lot. He ain't fighting Thurman. Thurman, who ain't really active, had injuries to his shoulder, hands. How's the pay overseas versus in NBA money? You know what? I'll answer that like this first. Like the women make millions. They make millions. They make millions playing in Russia. Candace, light-skinned Candace Parker, millions in Russia. They make more money in Russia, or they make the women basketball make their money playing overseas. It is a way bigger market than the WNBA. The WNBA is only 30 games, 25, 30 games with the playoffs, where they play all year when they go overseas. So women make an extraordinary more money playing overseas. And men can have a good career. Men really can. You can really have a good career. My cousin is coaching in Germany. He's having a great career just coaching, where he don't even have to come back. No jobs, because I thought he was going to go the Vanderbilt women's job or women's basketball came open. I thought he had a shot for that because one of his friends had it before. Or no. He had a chance to go with her. She left the WNBA to go to Vanderbilt. And we thought he was going to take that job, but he didn't. He stayed in Germany. So, yeah, you can make good money. You can have a career. You can have a good career. You can have a good career and then come back, and establish whatever you want to do for the rest of your life. But, yeah. And that's what I like about seeing, these 3-on-3. Like I watched yesterday, and maybe it was on YouTube, I watched the national European champion on 3-on-3. I didn't even know such a thing existed. And I played 3-on-3 everywhere. So I bring that up is it's good that people just like even Ice Cube's thing, because a lot of pros was playing 3-on-3. The Mackers had a lot of Michigan pros, but pros that would play around the country with it. So there's a market for that, and it lets older players keep playing. But I like that 3-on-3 is went worldwide, that you can just play in a 3-on-3 league and go to different tournaments around the world. I mean, I couldn't imagine being 25, 26 and having that opportunity. I got a friend, man, Damien. I saw Damien is still hooping in the Philippines. And Damien is, my brother is 55, 54, 55? Ooh, Damien ain't much younger. And Damien, I had to ask my brother how the difference between him and Damien. But I was surprised. He's still playing pro ball. He was playing in Israel. No, it wasn't Panama, it was Israel. Yeah, Damian Patterson used to play Oklahoma. And he played Philippines. He played all over. But they showed, and it showed new. I thought this was something old. It showed it new. So he got to be 48, 49, if not 50. If not 50. He's not that much younger than my brother. I don't know. I'd have to talk to him. But he's still hooping at that old. So How is overseas money versus the NBA? Do they make equal? Oh, they make less. They make less. It just depends who you are and where you playing to. China, they make pretty decent money in China because China, for one point, was the top minor league. So that was the thing was. So, so they make less, but I mean, you still can make money doing it. That's the point. You can still make money doing it, and so maybe you're going to take a little less, but you're still doing what you love. How does Minnesota college football looking? They play Ohio State. Oh, so far our guy Devo. What is Devo's real name? Devin. He told Chapman maybe Devin Chapman. He told me, but we got to rush in. It's a freshman that I'm gonna be surprised if he stays healthy, and we gonna knock on wood that he stays healthy. He might be ready for the league after 1 year. This dude is six. Let me see. My boy's about 6'6". He a little taller than Devo, but they about the same. Debo's a little thicker, and he played rush in. So I'll get his last name so y'all can watch for him. So I love that coach. I mean, he's a great recruiter. He gets the guys here. And his nickname is Debo. My cat wouldn't have liked that very much because this thing would have bonked her in the head. She'd have been looking like, dang, Dad, what did I do wrong? Prime Foreman versus Prime Tyson. Who are you picking? Well, like I was telling Sly, are we talking about Foreman against the rabbit punch and Foreman against the push and hit and hold like he did Joe Frazier that first title fight? Are we talking about that George Foreman? Or are we talking about the Foreman that fought Ali? Are we talking about the Foreman that fought what was it, Michael Moore? uh, Foreman 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". Tyson is 5'10". I was watching the Buster Douglas fight and they put him at 5'11". He ain't that tall. That makes me ponder just because Tyson's movement, but I would really compare Joe Frazier and Tyson a lot. Could Tyson take the barrage of getting hit by Foreman? Because it would have been hard. Like no one ever leap punched George. The worst Holyfield beat him up, but again, we talking about an older George. Even Tommy Morrison beat him up. But when we look at the fighters that gave him problems, like Jimmy Young gave him problems. And you notice this goes in there. You notice Larry Holmes never fought George Foreman, which I thought was odd. Larry Holmes never fought George Foreman because Larry was still fighting. Foreman was still fighting when Larry was active under King. Because I don't think Foreman was under King. Like if we're talking about both cats, because again, Tyson won the title, at 20? Foreman, I don't think turned pro until he was 20, 21, 22. But we say both cats at 22, I think he could have kept Mike away. It would have been hard for Mike to do leaping punches. It was like, who would you take, Sonny Liston or Mike Tyson? I think Sonny Liston was strong enough to keep Mike off him and beat him the way he beat Floyd Patterson because we had a big dude that could hit. And just looking at Mike Tyson's style, study him. Like, just don't be amazed by his knockouts. Really study Tyson. He made a lot of mistakes. And that's what I used to try to tell people back then, that he made a lot of mistakes. And then the one time when he fought Bone Crusher held him for, was they still doing 15 rounds in? However long they fought, Bone Crusher held him. But it was the last round or the one before, Bone Crusher caught him with a right. And Tyson even said it made his head feel like it went down in his neck. It's like his neck went into his body. But it was the first time a dude just caught him with and it showed that a person that could punch consistently could give him trouble. So I think Foreman would have gave him trouble. I tell you who would have probably beat Tyson too is Joe Frazier. I think Joe Frazier could have beat Tyson too, because Tyson would have been the first time that a dude is just coming forward. And you look at making you miss and the head movement that was equal to, he would have given Mike a tough time. They'd have been about the same height too. I mean, Mike may have been slightly bigger, but Joe Frazier would have given Mike a hard time. And Joe Frazier never fought Larry Holmes either, which I thought was odd too. The foreman that everyone thought was going to murder Ali. Yeah, that foreman would have given Mike a hard time, just because he was allowed to push, so he's allowed to keep this distance. But if you study their style was very both peekaboo, cross, block. So both of them had very similar styles. It was just George was good against framing people where he could. Mike wouldn't have been able to leap and hit George. George would have been able to keep framing Mike off him. And could Mike take them hammers that was coming out of George Foreman's fist? I don't think he could. Now, the other argument would be, could Mike move enough to get inside to catch him? And we know that George had the problems, was up in the cut was George's problem. You could come straight in here when he was younger because, again, he's older, he came with quick punches, but when he was younger, dude, Ali called him the mummy. Now, could Mike come, right in the pocket and fight him like that? Joe Frazier, spinner not, Joe Frazier couldn't. And Joe Frazier was more elusive, I think, than Tyson. So, but the Douglas fight to me was like the combination of the dude that was going to give him problems. A big dude that could keep him off you. And so might be his timing now coming back. That was funny. Y'all check that out. Holyfield was one of the only guys that was generally just better than Tyson. Tyson lost both fights, won by disqualifying. He was well on his way to losing that. I don't know. I don't know about both fights. The first fight, Holyfield was allowed to headbutt the whole fight. Now I know Mike is capping when he said that he, a headbutt knocked him out and he didn't remember a lot of the fight. I've watched the first fight very closely. I never saw a clear knockout like headbutt like Tyson said he received. But Mike was a dirty fighter. Mike did nothing but he would follow through and then he would follow with the elbow. Mike was dirty like that. But Holyfield used the headbutt against Mike. That's why Mike bit him. But the first fight, it was like almost 8 headbutts that was allowed. Watch it again. It was 8 headbutts, which almost equals to 1 every round. And so was Holyfield really better? Now, it was a good strategy to use his head because you got a fighter that's constantly coming in. So I understand that strategy. But rules are rules. And he's won the first fight too. And he did the same thing the second fight. And Miles Lane. Miles Lane was a boxing sacrifice. They gave that old dude, after doing all the championship fights, he had cancer. He was a judge too. He's a Nevada judge, I believe. He had his own TV show for a while. So I don't know if he was better. A lot of his fight, I don't know. Because even when Holyfield won beat Braxton, when they gave the championship from Braxton to Holyfield, even that was I thought Braxton fought him pretty good. But maybe not Braxton, I don't remember. But I thought Braxton gave him all he asked for. Used the cross as a defense, which is a terrible defense style in my opinion. I'm more a fan of the Philly shell traditional stance. But when you look at the cross, look at Archie Moore. Archie Moore fought 200 plus fights. And Archie Moore did it beautifully. And some parts, even George did it very effectively against a lot of people. George was good at too, is blocking punches. Like somebody could punch at George, and George would almost catch it on his hand or arm or glove. And George was real good because that's what you catch him doing when Ali's catching his punches like that. He's blocking like with leads. So it just depends who does it. Joe did it very well. Like Joe Frazier is underrated. If you study Joe Frazier, you have a love for that man. If you're a true boxing historian, I mean, he like the dude called Joe a truth machine. That Joe that fought that first fight, yeah. And then you start watching the fights leading up to that. Joe was nasty. Come up. Joe used to come in at you and eat punches. I believe the third fight against Ali, Frazier really won that fight. I think if they would have known how drained Ali was, again, the venue was terrible. Philippines in June, July, or August, no air conditioning in the place. Who said that was okay? Who like that just doesn't make sense to me. Like no one looked to see if this place is going to be 115 outside, it's got air conditioning inside with 8,000-9,000 plus people in there. So whoever didn't check that was stupid as hell. Even though I root for Holyfield, but Holyfield did headbutt Tyson a lot. I noticed Tyson did use his elbows when he landed his blows. Yeah. I mean, the one fight that's easy to see and even the modern martial artist shows this dude. But the dude that jumps into the ropes, watch that dude. Watch the dude who Tyson knocks out where he flies into the ropes and on the floor. Rewind it minutes before, like see that where the dude flies off and goes down. Rewind it about 30, 40 seconds. And in 30, 40 seconds, you see the dude practice that move. They're facing the opposite side, and that dude falls back like that. He uses the same step that he uses to fall into the ropes. And so a lot of them dudes wasn't getting hit. A lot of them early fights was fixed. And this one in particular, where the dude is flying into the ropes and down, that fight is absolutely fixed. Because you can catch him practicing it a few minutes before the actual knockout. So a lot of them are early fights. Now, Jesse Ferguson, he fucked up. He hit Jesse Ferguson and broke Jesse Ferguson's nose. Jesse Ferguson said he put his nose inside his face. In boxing, if you cheat and don't get caught, you're smart. But if you cheat and get caught, then you're an idiot. Oh, yeah, they do you and could ban you, could not give you your purse. Because, they get paid. Like, when they come in your dressing room, they supposed to, right after the fight, they got to pay you. Unless it's something. But yeah, the Thriller in Manila is a great fight. It was just both. Well, what you have to understand about Joe too is Joe was blind in one eye, technically. Like going back to the Olympics, Joe had an injury in practice, and so Joe was technically blind in one eye. Yeah, and Joe was another one suffered from diabetes, high blood pressure later in life, and this guy ran a gym, still kept in shape. And like one thing, if you look at how much they did to Ali and how scared they was in Ali. Ali, when he came back after being banned, he had bursitis. So I'm gonna tell you, the most painful shots I ever had done was in my hands. They did 2 in each hand, and I was like, never again. And maybe the thumb, so maybe 2 and then 1 in the thumb. But that was the pain, and I couldn't imagine it right here. But if you look at Ali's hand, and one thing that steroids will do is steroids will eat bone. That's just a fact. And that's why if you look at Ali's hands, even though he was in his early 70s, he had a man of hands was like a dude in his 90s because all, shooting, making your hands numb so he could fight. And a lot of that is the government's fault for banning him in the first place. But I think it was all a part of hushing him and not having another Malcolm X. I think they kind of feared him, especially when he started speaking at colleges. They kind of feared what Ali would become afterwards. And then Ali went over and talked to Saddam, got one of them pilots free, went over to the Muslim world. The Muslims accept Ali. Ali talked the dude off of about to jump out a window. Ali talked him off the window. I don't know if people remember that part. Real boxing fans love Mayweather's style. Some call it boring, but it's very effective style. Conserves energy while absorbing punches into your shoulders and still your body and head. Yeah. I mean, Roger, and I said before, my cousin K-Dog knocked out Roger in the AAUs. But Roger and his daddy fought the same way. And what you have to understand is that being a child of boxers, you become a student of boxing. And when Tyson talks about when Gus D'Angelo took him, he became a boxing historian too, because Gus had all them films. Matter of fact, I don't know if y'all realize that when you watch a lot of the old films, you hear, I think it's Jimmy Jacob is the one that's doing the announcing over some of these old fights because they're the ones who bought all the fights. Tyson's original managers, Jimmy Jacob was one of them, but they bought all the old fights. And so Tyson had access to all these fights. And so he became a historian of boxing. But I say that because so did Floyd. Floyd became a historian of boxing. And so I don't know if he dodged Pacquiao. I never thought Pacquiao had a lot for him anyway. I mean, Pacquiao was a much smaller dude. And even though Floyd's a little dude, and Floyd went up, classes. So I guess Floyd's not a good thing to say. Pacquiao was smaller, but even young Pacquiao, young Floyd, I don't think Pacquiao would have a chance. So Mayweather doesn't need to try to finish the fight anymore because no judge is going to want to be the judge that was giving him the one. Yeah, maybe. Look at what they did to Larry Holmes. How they took it from Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes was about to beat Rocky's record when he fought. I think it was his 49th fight was going to be fighting Spinks. And there's no way you can tell me Spinks either time beat Larry Holmes. No way. Not Michael Spinks. No way. And then that Michael Spinks didn't even try to fight Tyson. They just act like he was just the scariest person in the world. He only held the linear title, which is kind of a fictitious title in a way, but he was still the linear champion. But I thought Michael Spinks had a bigger dude that could hit. He wasn't scared to hit Larry Holmes when Larry Holmes was peaked, but you scared to fight Tyson. So hard to believe. It's crazy watching some of Floyd's fights when his opponents crumble because of the frustration, not being able to connect their punches. And that makes you tired. You hit somebody, that makes you tired. Hitting on somebody makes you tired. Pernell Whitaker absolutely fucked up Chavez and somehow didn't win. That was one of the biggest judgment biases I've ever seen. Which one was it where Chavez was beat? What, didn't Pernell Whitaker have him beat, and then they stopped the fight in like the last second? Wasn't that Whitaker? Then they gave it to Chavez where it was like the last seconds of the fight, they called it because he was like in the corner. That was a big cheat. Whoever shot, if that was Whitaker or Medrick Taylor maybe, yeah, that was some cheating shit there. But boxing always been that. It's always been that crooked element to it. So, but it's some beautiful people to watch. I mean, too. It's the art to it. That's why they call it, a science. Boxing is a science. It really is. Like I said, like sword fighting. That's why it films well. There's a counter. Counters film well. That's why martial arts look so good. Is because of counter. What is this on with my shoulders? Oh, maybe arrows in the shirt. Okay. Medrick Taylor. Yeah, Taylor had him beaten in the last 5 seconds. Last 5 seconds. He beat the shit out of him the whole fight. Then the last 5 seconds, they stopped the fight. Now, it wasn't like with Sugar Ray. When Sugar Ray beat Tommy Hearns. I mean, even though Tommy Hearns had a detached retina, Tommy didn't have any stamina. And Sugar Ray hit him with like almost 30 punches. I understand, even though that crushed my money, I understood it. Every single person scored it to Whitaker by a landslide, except the judges. They called it a draw, and Sweet absolutely murdered. Yeah, he did. And he is a guy to study too. His ability, changing angles. I mean, it's really beautiful to watch real fighters. That's why Floyd was so cool to watch. You got a sense of what a real fighter looked like, a complete fighter. That really wasn't Ali, because what you got a lot is with Sugar Ray Leonard was trying to keep Ali's idea alive. Flashy dude that can move. Floyd really wasn't that. Floyd was more of the defensive fighter. But if you're a historian, Floyd fought a lot like Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson would just he knew it was a show, so he would carry people. He would let it go 14, 15. These dudes would fight 60, 70 rounds sometimes. So Jack was good to give a show because he understood what people wanted. So Jack, if you study him, you can see him doing the counters to keep the fight going because he wanted to give a show. So he understood that part. So, but it's been like they'll never put live scores. They'll never do that. And that's really what would win people back. Because right now, MMA, I mean, but I'll say this. MMA's popularities help boxing. It has helped boxing. Because boxing was pretty much pay-per-view only. ESPN stopped showing it. Showtime was about to get rid of it. So it wasn't very many live avenues left. And again, are you going to pay for a dude you ain't watched his fights leading up? Because that's how they get you is, you follow the dude's career and then he gets a great opportunity. Boom, you pay to see him fight. Because the Fury fight, That second fight was the biggest hype fight since Ali Frazier won, or even one of Sugar Ray's fights, or even one of Larry Holmes' big fights. I mean, it was one of the biggest fights in years, as far as anticipation, as far as the casual fan wanting to see the fight. It was hype like no other, and that helped boxing. But MMA helped boxing too. If you look at it as a as a sport, you look at it as that wasn't the word I was looking for. As you look at it as entertainment, it brought an interest. MMA's rise. A lot of people say it killed boxing. I disagree. I say it's helped boxing. I think it got the popularity back in boxing, because boxing would kind of do fights afterward or fights before. So boxing kind of came back, and I think MMA was a big part of that too. New here, great stream. Well, thank you, Perspective Gaming. Thank you for joining. So just the history of what brought it back, because boxing's fun to watch. I thought my neighbor was capping. My neighbor was like, "It's another fight coming." He said, "We gonna all ride down there, go to the fight," because they have the fights here at our armory. So we have some local champ. I forget what belt he holds. So a couple weeks might be going to some live boxing. So hope so, but I hope he ain't capping. But he's like, "Man, there's some fights coming up." Then I heard it on the radio. I was like, so if he's real, what he was saying, looks like we gonna go. And last time dude fought, they put it on ESPN, so I might be in there on ringside. Because my man said that's what he said. He said we'd be sitting with marriage shit. I'm like, okay, we'll see if that comes up or not. But they've been the Army's been holding some matches. Klitschko in modern day probably the best heavyweight I've seen since the '90s. Never lost his belt. He only lost it when he retired. Yeah. I just think a period of Americanism too, because they held the belt, lived in other countries. Promoters not wanting to go over there, fighters not wanting to fight him over there, because, like we was just talking about cheating refs. Sometimes you go to these countries, it'd be the same thing. Like we had a guy I talked about. I grew up, and the first champion I could have been around was Lynn Hutchinson. Lynn was fighting in Argentina. Lynn fought the light heavyweight champion. That was the light heavyweight champion in Argentina. And dude hit Lynn with a nasty headbutt in the beginning of the fight, and it opened a cut up here. I mean, it just opened all this up, and the dude wasn't called penalized or none of that for that. And Lynn, it affected Lynn, but it affected him. So, but that happens. That happens. You got to expect all of what they say. Protect yourself at all times. So. And it's helped all sports in general. I think when boxing is strong, almost all the sports tend to be strong too. So it's just boxers getting old. And, as I said, I grew up around boxers, and, that CTE stuff they had, and seeing dudes that it was almost like I grew up, I had family members that was mentally ill, but I mean severely mentally ill, where they used the word retarded. But that was the first time. Boxing was when I would see men looking like they was retarded, and these is grown men and not children, and they weren't retarded. My father was like, yeah, they boxed, and brain got rattled around. But that was the first time I saw people affected like that. And later, I didn't see football players till later, but that was the first time I saw those cats affected by the punches. It was meeting these grown men that was like children, minds of children, for taking all the hits. And they called it punch drunk. People kind of joked about, yeah, he just punch drunk. But that's what they once called it. The cruiserweight division doesn't get enough love. No, and this guy's in a little better shape and a little better movement too. Then they used to call it CTA being punch drunk. Yeah, exactly. Punch drunk. That's what they called it. Punch drunk. CTE was punch drunk. Yep. And that's the thing. I met many men like that, many men. And it's, but that was my thinking as a child. It's like, damn, this dude is like acting retarded, but I'd never seen a grown man act that way. Like I've had relatives that were handicapped, and, they were grown handicapped, but I never saw a man that, and some of these cats I saw fighting and see them later. I saw them when they was little, then see them when I was grown too. But some people I saw when I was little, and they was like messed up. So, yeah. Called punch drunk, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's a sad thing to see. It's a sad thing to see people that's so sharp. I've seen people like, I had one guy got shot in the head. It was like that. Great guy, and then he got shot in the head. It made him handicapped, and I mean like mentally handicapped, being shot. Never came out of it. And I've told this story before. His grandson went to the most prestigious. His grandson went to the high school him and I went to. This cat's a little older than me. Probably got me about 10 years or more. But his grandson goes to the most prestigious, what they call the Harvard of the Midwest, Kalamazoo College. His grandson got a basketball scholarship and an academic scholarship. And so I'm not a big person of karma, but I just looked at it like, okay, so the grandfather had to be sacrificed for this boy to have his career. Because the boy's dad is an athlete too, but it's his mom's dad. But I just looked at that whole scenario and I was like, that event had to happen to put that boy there. And that's cruel, but that's kind of how it works. When I look back and I was like, okay, he had to suffer so he could make it. And that's fate. It's what do I want to put here? Okay. So I was looking at some anime. It's called The Blood of Zeus. And one thing they tried to say is, the gods would come down and exploit human will. But one of the points of the movie talks about how free will, fate and free will can exist together. And that's a concept that's not thought about very often. Because a lot of people want to just tell you that that's one part of being human, is that you get free will from the universe. Well, again, the older people say that fate is a part of that free will, and that fate is a moving thing that's already there. And this is why I think that fate, it has to play a role in it. Because when I talk about war, there's a way you can survive war. There's a path you can take. And I've talked about this many times. I talked about, it was a dude I knew was going to go home from when I was a freshman. He couldn't take it. I knew that hanging with him would put me on the path of failure. I would be just like him, wanting to take off. But war is the same way. And yeah, war is the same way. And when you time move, you can see these paths. Like when you go, what would be called going back to the past, and I guess I'm not gonna say I'm special, but I'm saying one thing that time walking does allow me, I guess is the best way to say it, is it allows me to see these paths. And you can stay on these paths and you survive. You can go to any war. You can go to war where they fighting with swords and shit. It's the same thing. There's a path in the war. There's nothing but killing, but there's a path where you can live. Because everybody generally can't die. There's got to be a purpose or a winner. Somebody's going to live, but there is a path. If you follow the people that live, there's a path. And sometimes the path is like inches away. A bullet would come like this close, or you'd see the bullet go by. And that would be tied more into fate than free will. That would be more fate. The college baseball World Series had to forfeit the game because of, I think I read that as it went under, Jack. Thank you for joining. I have to watch that again. Okay. There's a abandoned Masonic temple near where I live. I don't know if it's still used or if anyone still owns it, but it looks pretty cool. If it looks cool and it looks like it's a taken care of building, they still use it. It's very, very rare you'll see people there. They're very quiet. So, but this is the key. If it looks still operable, it is operable. That's the key. If it ain't all boarded up but clean and ain't no trash and clean building, they still using it. Yep. It was all hard to watch Ali suffer, and it was Sugar Ray who said he wanted to push Ali into the pit fire at the Olympics in Atlanta. Yeah. Joe Frazier too. Joe Frazier said the same thing. That Joe Frazier wanted to push him into that pit. But that's what the government did to him, taking him years away from him over nothing. Okay, he was right. Ali was right. And see, that's how Ali stung them, because they thought Ali was going to do like Joe Lewis was in World War II. I think Sugar Ray Robertson was too. and Joe Louis was USO. And they said they went to Ali's people. They was like, you're going to be the same thing. You just going to be in USO. But Ali was like, we promoting your bullshit. We are promoting your bullshit. You were in a legal war, which was never declared. It was never declared war. We know the Gulf of Tonkin was a lie. No one ever attacked a U.S. ship. What the Gulf of Tonkin was is they took little PT-like boats and they would just go up and down and do CIA missions and fuck with the coast. And so they was attacking them boats. They was attacking them. And then they tried to say that one of their ships, and then Johnson is like the 9/11 shit. And they're basically not declaring war, but going to war. And then we see the machine that takes pops, cigarettes, lighters, boots. We see the machine going to Vietnam, where these factories making money. Believe me, when Vietnam was going, wasn't nobody out of work. Nobody. I didn't know any men that didn't work when Vietnam went. And Vietnam lasted my whole life, my whole young life. Technically, they was over there in 61. But we'll say just basically from 64 on until 70, 72, I think. Jobs galore. Because everybody had them government contracts. So what was done to Ali was cruel. But you know, he put some shit in people's mind. That shit he said about ain't no Vietnamese called me nigga. That was the realest shit ever. That should go for every war from now on. What do you got against them people? And they brainwash you. They brainwash you that they're actually your enemy and you actually want to kill them. I think one of the best movies to watch is Black Hawk Down. You see all these cocky Europeans running around and them brothers put it on their ass. And they dying and shit, and they're doing the last rites. And I was one of the ones like, get them. I mean, anybody else watch that? Want the niggas to get them? The best character in the movie is the brother. So you see the brother in the back, and he's got his army stuff on. And in the next scene, you see the brother, the door is open, the brother's gone, and you see him running away with the Muslim stuff on. He snuck up out of there. It's like, shit, I look just like these dudes. Let me get up out of here. No, there's only one brother fighting on their side. So, I mean, does anybody else feel like that? Now, I'm not trying to make any military people mad, but that's how I felt. When I watched Black Hawk Down, I'm like, get them motherfuckers. I was like, no, you get them white boys. You get these Europeans. That's how it made me feel. Now, am I the only one that felt like that? Again, I'm not trying to disrespect any military people. That's how the movie made me feel. I'm like, finally, you showing somebody going after their ass. Because afterwards, that movie showed brothers going after Europeans so tough that they made that Bruce Willis movie after that, where one dude defeats the whole African army. He defeats the whole continent. Remember that Bruce Willis movie? It was kind of like Tarzan in a way. But that's how Black Hawk Down made me feel. I'm like, it was the first time they showed brothers going after Europeans, like not scared of them. Like, oh, the Americans are coming. Oh. No, that motherfucker was like, bring them on. Bring them on. We'll fight the fuck out of them. We don't care what you got. And the same thing happened in Vietnam. They was like, we'll find a way to kill a couple of you every day. And it's fake, both sides. I mean, General Giap would just slaughter millions of his people. The Tet Offensive killed the South Vietnamese army, or the Viet Cong as they was called. It killed them. It wiped them out. And it almost seemed like it wiped them out on purpose. Almost seemed like it wiped them out on purpose. Because you had separate armies. You had an army in the north, and you had the Viet Cong, which was basically the South Vietnamese rebels. And Tet wiped the South Vietnamese rebels out. So you see that seemed planned because it helped the north of them just having complete control. Only one army. So pour myself some Moon-Kissed Sugar water. What time is it? Oh, okay. Not late. Not terribly late. I am having a honorary Father's Day dinner tomorrow for my daughter and her mother are cooking for me. So I'll go chill with them for a minute. And then my daughter's coming with me because the mom's got a date, which doesn't matter to me. Ah. But like again, I brought this up, and like it goes back into family and how you should feel. It's like my mother was like asking me, did I feel out of place seeing my father and my brothers and my father's wife and their mother, of course, and my uncle all together for Juneteenth. And really, I don't feel bad because they're at a blindness, a sleepness that I'm nice to people, but we really couldn't understand each other. We really couldn't. Mentally, they're at a locked out place that I ain't really there. And I love them all, but they're just in a place where I'm not. And so even though we would be sitting next to each other, I couldn't hear them. They couldn't really hear me. And so I'm joyful that they all can enjoy each other's company. Why would that make me bitter to see my family together? Why would that make me bitter? Because I know in that picture, in that circumstance, them celebrating Juneteenth, I don't belong. And it's not that I don't belong because I'm an outcast. I don't belong because mentally, where all that is, I don't belong around that. Some ways that would be like stabbing myself because I know this is a lie. And all the ritual they did telling y'all from Michigan, y'all don't know about no Texas shit. This is a new thing. So I don't know. I can take things as they come. That's a beautiful thing for them to give you flowers and celebrate you. Well, thank you. Well, thank you, Perspective. That's nice of you to say. Thank you, Valerie. And so, yeah, they actually we were going to do it. It started raining. We had a storm, so we was going to do it because my son kept asking, when we going to go, when we going to go. And then he went to his mother's today. So he's staying at his mother's for the next few days. And so I'm going over there. And they're cooking me lunch, so that's cool. And then I get to spend my daughter day with my daughter, which is always cool. Get to spend the time with her. I think we're gonna go up to see my mother or something. It's supposed to be beautiful again tomorrow in the 80s. So, um, you know, I live a pretty simple life. You know, I really do. I listen to music. Again, I don't know what being lonely is. And maybe I can help people if people feel that they get lonely. All this stuff here just stimulates me. So I don't know what lonely feels like. Because I'm a cancer, and sometimes cancers just fall into their shell. That's a part of it too. And I love people. You know, I love people. Chiefin, would you like my new coach, Chasey Billups? You like my new coach? Oh, that's who got the job. Okay, first start for him. He knows basketball preparation. That's what people don't understand about TV people, TV basketball people, and how they're easy to go into coaching. Their preparation is very similar to what a coach how they prepare. You've got to watch a lot of film, tendencies too, and so they do this as announcers. They do this, and then he was assistant coach for the Clippers. Isn't he still assistant coach, or did they make him stop? Um, so yeah, I didn't know he played in Soda. He wasn't here long, but yeah, he came. He was kind of a journeyman. He was a guy that left college early, and they kind of bounced him around. But yeah, he was here for a minute. Bunch of dudes was here for a minute. Bunch of guys. I mean, Garnett saw a lot of bums, and Garnett had Jr. and they ran Jr. out of here. They really did. Jr. was a goofy dude, funny, but he was a strong brother, and they really didn't care for that. Garnett, even though he scowled and made faces, that came later in his career when he first came up in here. And it was funny about Garnett is Garnett comes up here with his mama, and his mama had his bank account. And it was like his first month of getting checks, his mama spent like damn near $1 million that quick. And they got mama up out of here. His group came around and said, look, this is how your mom went through your money. We can't have your mom spending $1 million of your money every month. And so they sent mama back to Chicago or South Carolina. But that's how careless she was. He was only 18, 19. So she still had a hand in his bank account, so they cut mom off, and she took it. She took advantage. But that shows you when the hood has money. When the hood has money. So till he got with the Pistons. Yeah, yeah. When he got with the Pistons, he was a perfect fit. He really was a perfect fit. He played a lot like Joe Dumars. Very similar size dude, maybe built slightly bigger, but similar handle. And I enjoyed watching Joe Dumars rise. It was nice watching him being able to. Again, you get better playing in the NBA. We see it. You just get better. You play against this competition, you see your skills, and it was fun watching his rise. And even though he's not terribly younger than me, probably 5, 6 years younger than me, like my brother's age, but still was he was young when I lived in Michigan. All the Pistons game came on TV 50 for the Pistons people, the Michigan people. They know TV 50. It was the first cable channel. Like I remember, I didn't have TV 50, and TV 50 had racer. What's the racer called? Speed Racer. Had Speed Racer on it, and everybody's talking about Speed Racer, but me. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what Speed Racer was. I lie, yeah, I saw it, yeah, but didn't know shit about Speed Racer. So I would skip the bus because I was busing. Then it was voluntary busing. Next year they made us, but that year you could, if you wanted to go to school in the hood, you could. Terrell Brandon. Wasn't Brandon the guy that got killed in the car accident in North Carolina? Wasn't that him? I think that's him. Terrell Brandon. I have to look him up to remember him. Terrell Brandon. To remember him. Oh, yeah, I remember him. You know what? He actually played decent here, but played on some bad teams. Yeah, I got to see him play. And he was short. That's right. He was short. He was short. But he played shit. They said he scored damn near 10,000 points. But number one pick. He was pick number 11, so he was in the lottery. Trying to think, it was some other dudes they could have got, and they got him. So, but they was always picking high in the draft, and just like I was watching Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn played in pickup time today, and I was like, damn, Timberwolves drafted Dunn number 1. Remember that? And so now Dunn is like, he bounced from Chicago. Now he's with Atlanta. And so sometimes doesn't work out for guys. So he played okay. He played okay here. Yeah, he was okay. Undersized though. Like undersized and not the Iverson quick to be undersized on defense. But didn't play with good teams. Duncan's really but oh man, yeah. I was talking about that last night or a couple of days ago. Duncan like I said, when we sat in the rafters a few seasons ago, when Duncan was still playing in Garnett, he killed Garnett that night too. And that was a little older Garnett, but he killed him, and he would just kill Garnett. It was just like one player that had Garnett's number was definitely Duncan. And Duncan just went through Garnett, then he turned around and went through Shaq. And Duncan was the one player that Shaq couldn't guard. Not peak Duncan. Peak Shaq could not guard peak Duncan. So he just would kill him. I mean, that bank, and then if Shaq was trying to, play him close, he would get by him, shrug a little bit, and then he just would just annihilate Shaq in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, just put it on him. He was the one player that put it on Shaq. And Shaq really couldn't get into his offensive game because he had so much pressure on defense. My finals, I still think hey Dred, thank you for joining. I'm still I looked okay. Wow, that was an hour ago. I still business wise, Atlanta, LA make the most sense business wise. Will they stick to that script? I think so. I think the NBA is hurting so much in ratings. If they put the ratings in Milwaukee and say the Clippers, or Milwaukee and the Suns, they're really nobody's gonna watch it. If the Suns get through, nobody will watch. Nobody really wants to see the Suns play the Bucks. I mean, their numbers are gonna go like this. Advertisers ain't really going to want to jump on that either. I mean, look at it from a business standpoint of making the most money. If the NBA, if you were the commissioner and the NBA was your baby, what would, and you know all this is fixed, what makes the most money fixing it? And the most money is LA and Atlanta. And I would probably give the nod to Atlanta because they tend to let teams that have won it before win it. You haven't won it before, it's kind of dicey. But we did see a billionaire, as I mentioned earlier in the show. We saw a billionaire get rewarded in Texas. We saw a billionaire that was just embarrassed a year ago back in it. So that's the one thing I could say could help the Clippers is that. They should go with Hawks, Clippers. And that was the reason that Game 7 rating against Bucks was high. Yeah, exactly. Durant was the reason. Ain't nobody trying to see. It gets boring basketball. Now, he did do a Connie Hawkins-like move tonight. He went like he was going to dunk it, and he turned it and kind of – that was some Connie Hawkins-like shit. James Worthy, Dr. J-ish. That was some nice – but he's a boring player. He's a boring player. Again, will he attract the casual fan? That's what you got to look at. Will Giannis attract the casual fan with his one-dimensional game? And now I'll say this is one way that I did see them pushing. He shot a few more threes again because they know if he plays in the finals, casual fan wants to see threes now. That's what the casual fan wants to do. They want to see these half-court threes. So they're not going to turn the rims on for Ice Trey. Yeah, no one. Yeah, boo. No one wants to watch Giannis. He's not improved. He hasn't improved at all. Not really. I mean, it's dribbling and everything, but he's still basically one dimension. Got to drive every time, and not really get by you drive. That's my thing. Is he's got to take a few dribbles around people. He ain't got that quickness like Zion, just to get by everybody in a quick move. No, it's like take these steps and everybody get out the way. Very one-dimensional player. That everybody, all you got to do is just block the lane. That's all you got to do, block the lane. Put them three people there. We saw some of them dudes shooting bricks, 24 shooting bricks. If Middleton ain't hot, that's pretty much, they ain't, tonight they may drop some more shots, but normally they don't. And the most athletic team is by far Atlanta, the most athletic team. They really have no answer for Trey. And you see how bad he played tonight. And they turned the rims off. So he hit a few. But I noticed mostly they turn the rim off. I hate his long-ass free throws. He takes 15 seconds every time. I mean, just the video I did. One time he took 5 dribbles. When they called the penalty on him, he took 6. So it makes you think, well, damn, like you got to do the same thing every time. You can't one time take 5 dribbles and be successful, the next time take 6. It don't work like that. You got to be the same thing every time. That's how it works. Atlanta, Cam Reddish returned. I saw that at the end. I saw that, and they're going to be a better team having that wing that can stretch the defense, and he can go to the basket. And he's a big guy, too, for defense. So I saw that, too. Perspective says push him to the line. There you go. But, yeah, I think that's going to be big that Reddish played tonight and got a decent minutes. So I think that'll open their game up with him back there. I liked him. Leonard's out just so people sleep on the Clippers. I wish they had Hunter. Sleep on the Clippers. That's a good point. But it's only 1 point tomorrow, so money's not real. The money's not confident either way at 1 point. And you wish they had Hunter, Chief. And yeah. So that's to me what how you got to break it down. It's like, what's the sense? Who's gonna make the most money? That makes the most sense. Well, let me do the divination for 626. Oh, there's the book I was looking for. And so we should be on Mulak, I do believe. Was it 9 or 10? I think it's day 9. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure we're day 9 because we'll start at noon. Yeah, it should be back to the east. Yeah, day 9 is right. And so day 9 is considered mulak, raindrop, cosmic seed and gate of awakened consciousness, principle of communication, expansion of higher life. And the energy is coming out the east. So those of you that want to manifest this Saturday morning, you start with the easterly direction. And for the Toltec, it is Ot or water. In this image, we see a character, the name of Umala, which means elder woman and represents old Mother Earth. Imala is practicing the ritual of the burnt water, which is reconciliation of the opposites, fire and water. Is the basis of power ceremonies like the Kato. The Toltec form of the native sweat lodge. Between the goodness of the fire, we see the dot that represents oneness, making clear that nothing is complete without its opposite, and at the end, the two are one. The sign on the top is the sun that illuminates the process. As a nurturing power, out is the placental that envelopes, protects, and nourishes. It represents the place and time when the new being is evolving, getting ready to come into the world for the first time. This metaphor of the pregnancy process eliminates how every new dream or project is realized. It should be embraced and cared for, nurtured, and brought into the world at the proper time. Like the water that is the source of life, you are being called to embrace something that is coming to exist for the first time. Just like her, you are the sacred container of a new expression of life energy that comes after gestation period. Be aware, be ready, be generous, and be nurturing of what is coming. It is already within you, whether you are aware of it or not. Getting the alt card may also announce the need for a process of cleansing of whatever is blocking the natural flow of energy in your own life. In both the inner and the external world, what you experience as problems and hard times are basically the manifestation of the interruption of the natural flow of energy in some area of your life. What the alt card is telling you is that some specific situation in your life or your soul needs to be cleansed to remove whatever is blocking the energy so that life can flow naturally again. You may also be a crucial point in your life in the need of that cleansing, but because of the limited awareness of what is going on, you may be resisting the process, which will still bring more pain. Beware of making this mistake. What you need to do is opposite. Embrace the process of cleansing so that your soul or that your life needs. So that's sending the energy of those that can use it. uh, I'll say this for another day. One thing about boxing is I saw a mural of Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. Look up Joe Frazier knocking down Ali, or look up Joe Frazier's statue. It's the same position. It's the exact same position. Was Paul George half court shot fake? You know, they show video to try to click or try to show people that it was a real shot. They showed him making one in practice, but yeah, it was fake. I thought about making a video, but they purposely, it was a bad. They didn't really highlight on that shot, if you noticed, and so it was kind of not. It wouldn't have made turned for a good explanation. But yeah, the system was used. The system is used. Yep. Can't wait to laugh at CP3 choking again. DeAndre Hunter and Reddish together, the Hawks are legit. 15 Warriors and Reddish together, the Hawks are legit. Okay. Was Paul? Yeah, I think it was, Chief, and I think it was manipulated. No matter how much they try to push these foreign players, they're always going to have to share that spotlight with with the melanated players. They are. They are. They would like to get rid of them. They would like the melanated players to be from Africa. That's the thing. That's the attack. It is an attack. It's an attack. I mean, look at what did what's the rapper from North Carolina's name was playing in a couple of the African League games that they put together. You see how the NBA put that league in Africa too. There's other leagues too. Like I don't know if y'all remember when I talked about my friend Bobby, and like when we made his tape, we only had one move from Bobby, so we made a tape like several angles of this one shot, and not angles, but it's like, yeah, because he showed us the tape. It's funny. Bobby brought us the tape, and he had love music playing where he's hooping, showing this one move. And we was like, yeah, that nobody wants to see this, Bobby. So we cleaned it up, but it was still just one move basically for like 7, 8 minutes of one move. And Bobby went to, yeah, J. Cole was playing in the African League, and people was mad, but it was like he was just as okay as him. I wasn't blown away by their ability. A lot of these cats grew up in America and go back over there and play, but they've always had leagues there. But you see the NBA. Like, why are you in Africa setting up pro leagues? Why isn't Africa setting up pro leagues? And they did the same thing in Europe. NBA had their hands in that because that was where they sent players. There are the Eastern leagues, but more than likely there they was blackballed in some ways. And they give it like somebody was asking the amount of money. If you made more money playing in Europe than the Eastern League, Eastern League, you damn near had to keep a job. I mean, you hooped and you hooped all up and down the East Coast, but you pretty much damn near needed a job too while you hooped. It was almost semi-pro-ish. Yup, J. Cole, yeah. So that's the NBA putting that together. Why? Why? Why do you need talent out of Africa? So I respect the baseball players coming from Japan a little more than I do the European players. At least they've been coming since the 40s. I mean, we went over there and World War II gave them baseball. So they've been playing since the 40s. These European leagues ain't been going quite since the 40s. Well, guys, I think I'm going to close it. 2 hours is about good enough. I appreciate everybody coming through on this late hour. And still, it ain't really that late. I didn't start till 1. 2 hours is good. But thank you for listening to my different rants. You know, I don't try to be one-dimensional. I ain't all, you got to believe in the spirit. You know, I don't tell you to believe in anything. You shouldn't believe in anything. You should know. That's the thing. You should know. If you're a spiritual person, then know about your spirituality. But on this book, I got another book I'm gonna send out to some friends. But this one, what's interesting is she gives you the grids, and she gives you some affirmations. She gets into choosing crystals, but she throws up some grids that's kind of interesting. Trying to see if the spiral grid, because this is another way that you can move energies. Must be here a little more. Just to show it right quick. And here we go. I mean, it can be like that much. And she shows you the type of crystals to choose. Not expensive crystals either. And this is a kind of directional, using the directions. But it's a few different ones. And she tells you what you need. 12 small pieces of amber, very inexpensive. 8 pieces of black obsidian, very expensive again. 4 pieces of jasper. Jasper is one of our field rocks. And 8 small pieces of amber. Yeah, still not too far. In a candle. She shows this kind of to attract love. This type of grid. And what's interesting about the cards, like if you consider Judy Hall's cards, she shows the same thing. How you can make grids out of these cards. So it's a lot of different ways to go about magic. You know, and crystals ain't the only thing. You know, it's not. It's a lot of different talents, and you just have to find your talent. I sent that. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So Barbara, you're gonna need probably a blowtorch to get all this tape off. So don't talk stuff to me when you get this and it's got all this tape on it, because I've had to tape it. This will be the 3rd time I got to put a new address on it. So don't be mad. There'll be so much tape. I know Crazy Sarge was like, yeah, you really taped it. But so I've had to put another one on there. So don't be mad. And it's this thick dollar store tape. But so yeah, all right. And yeah, you should get it next week. Maybe like next Friday, Thursday, Friday, somewhere in there. So yes, because it is like somebody teased me, said I'm selling out keys, so it's already. And they say this address is not right. I've got to do another one. But it's okay. We'll get it all together. We'll get it all together, and I'll get that out to you. And then I'm going to see this little book. I'm going to see if I can find you one. I'm going to go back to the bookstore because I'm turning into some of these books I don't use, and get that out. Get a couple of books out too for possibility. So I'll see if I can find some more of that little book because that little book is very informative. If not, I'll see if I can get some more copies of this. So I'll see. I'll see what I can do. Can't promise, but if I can find some more. So that's the thing. MEA, the old manipulation system. Depending where they play, like if they play, how do I put it? If they play an arena that doesn't host the NBA team, you're probably gonna see the old system. But if they play an arena that hosts the NBA team, you're gonna probably see the newer system. But yeah, I showed the video where they're using it for 3-on-3, so you know they're using it for women. And I know I don't catch a lot. Don't really like a lot of the games, especially since what's her name, Maya quit playing, and the Timberwolves or the Lynx stopped being good. So I don't watch as much as I used to. But you catch them. Yeah, if I can find that other one, yeah, Barbara. If I can find one or the other, because I think those little books though they had more of them, so I don't remember about this one. And that book's new. I just bought it from the used bookstore, but it's a new book. So if I can get another one of them, or I'll see. Because if I don't get the information, somebody had asked for it, but if they don't send me the information, then I'll send it out to you too. I'll just give you this one too, because I got a box for it already. So, but it's helped me, with my dyslexia, to get used to send stuff. Like sending the stuff to Crazy Sarge helped a lot. Sending it to my brother last year helped a lot. So it helps me get over that too. So, and I just got this stuff too much. It's really, it got to a point where it's just too much. And it's like, this is how I look at it. It's like someone else could get a use of this. Someone else can get a use of this. And there's just energy, but like in my collecting, I was just a zealot kind of just collecting stones. But once I learned to collect for reasons and purposes, it changed the way I bought. And so I have all these stones that I don't actually work with every day, but yet they're around all this. So the energies, all my stones energies are pretty great. So, well, that is going to be the end of tonight's broadcast. Thank you for joining me. And as I'm going to make my new habit, I wish everybody Mora. And Mora is a little bit of the time walking information that I can install in all of you. Let me figure this out right quick, though. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, that'll work better. All right, I wish everybody Mora. And Mora was basically a saying that I couldn't tell you how old this word is, but it actually means all of what I'm about to read. And so I greet you with Mora. And what Mora means is it all starts with a gentle sadness. They came from their original homeland. They knew that they had exact numbers of years and days before they would disappear off the earth as a culture and a lifestyle. But once they turned the civilization on, the civilization would build to a gentle love. They lived in the Creator's day, and they knew how to separate cycles in the great serpent. I am another yourself. I am Eight Wind is timeless. Thank you all for your support and interest. Saturday, I believe I'll be back on tomorrow after the game. I don't think there's a hockey game on, so just a hoop game, and the hoop game is on tomorrow night. So, till we meet again, thank you.